Dali subscribed to every political view, but for the worst part, he was a huge supporter of
I am the glob glob gab galab, the schwabble double wabble gabble flibber blah blah blah.
But first, of course, nerd shit. Salvador Domingo Felipe Jacinto Dali y Domecq, aka Salvador Dali, born in 1904, 845
Figueras.
in Spain. And here we already have to stop for some weird shit, because you see, he already had a brother named Salvador that at the age of around 3-ish died 9 months before Salvador was born. So of course he had a weird ass obsession with him his whole fucking life. But if we're diving into his politics, we have to mention his father, Salvador Luca Rafael Anentio Dali Cusi. Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with you Spanish people? Why such long ass names? But his father, though, happened to be an atheist, anti-clerical, Catalan federalist. So it's basically young Dali's political views. And he also encouraged him to do art. And I imagine he probably saw him one day painting something, and he said to him, "Remember, son, fuck the church. Oh, and also, the painting thing, keep it up, my G." Also, apparently, his father was quite a strict man, but his mother tamed him. So, let's move a little bit into the future, which may be the past. At age 20, in 1924, Dali ended up in prison just for the short time, but Rivera fuck dictatorship saw him as a public menace, so he was thrown in jail. And 5 years later, in 1929, Dali joins, which were basically commies. And here, let's stop a little bit and talk about Surrealist Manifesto by André Breton. Actually, there were like 2 manifestos, but Dali signed in more with the Breton's manifesto. So, the manifesto was written 100 years ago, but some parts of it does sound kind of nowadayish, because Breton advocated for
your psychic automatism.
What is automatism? Automatism involves a spontaneous output of thought without any preconceived subjects or concern for aesthetic and moral conventions, uninhibited by rational considerations. Automatic writing, no thought, just writing spontaneously built on minimal conscious perception. Raw thoughts, randomized shit creating a spark of meaning that is not consciously intended. Generate creative expression free from constraints of logic and reason. Yeah, dudes 100 years ago tried to be like nowadays AI. So I think we can safely say that AI is basically surrealist machine. But since we're talking about politics, the manifesto itself wasn't really that much political, but of course politicians and dictators saw dangerous ideology in it, mainly because it advocated for rejecting established order. Materialism, positivism, realism equals bad. Why bad? All these are just an obstacle to intellectual and moral progress, and that it does limit your ambitions. He also believed that surrealism is a war of independence against conventional thought. He rejected traditional morality and logic, emphasized anarchy, and believed that poetry is a revolutionary force. But just let me stop here for a second and mention poetry. If you're writing it, just fucking stop. So yeah, that all pretty much fits perfectly with young Dali's views. But later though, Surrealist group itself started getting more politically divided, so Dali tried to be as apolitical as he could, even refusing to shit on fascism publicly. But little before that, in 1931, Dali became involved with Workers' and Peasants' Front, which was basically like a Spanish commie party. How involved he was with commies? Well, he was giving some presentations on their meetings, plus he contributed to their party journal. He did even hallucinate about Lenin, or at least that's what painting hallucination, 6 images of Lenin on a grand piano, would have suggested. Don't worry though, he wasn't a commie. He became apolitical again, and then much, much worse. And we're getting there after you like the damn video. So, there's 1934, and Dali was accused by Breton himself of sympathizing with Hitler and almost got expelled from the Surrealist group. Wait, did I say almost? So that means he wasn't a sympathizer with Hitler, right? Well, First, I gotta admit, plenty of what he said was just purely for controversy. So he was talking shit, and his PR was no matter what they talk, what matters that they talk. And it does sound like one little fucker nowadays. But this shit, man, even Kanye isn't that crazy. Or maybe is exactly that crazy. Because you see, Salvador dreamed about Hitler's brush. And I'm not talking painting supplies. It was purely homoerotic. Yes, you heard me right. He wanted to go to town with Mr. H, fascinated by him. Probably masturbated thinking of him masturbating. How would I jump to such disgusting conclusions? Because of, I don't know, the painting that's literally called Hitler masturbating? Fuck, motherfucker be beating his horse sitting on a horse. Or this surprisingly dick-cum-like parts from The Enigma of Hitler. Imagine that. Accused of sympathizing with Hitler, he was like, but I just think he hot though. Once even told a journalist, I often dreamed of Hitler as a woman. His flesh, which I had imagined whiter than white, ravished me. There was no reason for me to not stop telling one and all that to me Hitler embodied perfect image of the great masochist who would start a world war solely for the pleasure of losing and burying himself beneath the rubble of an empire. Just imagine if Kanye, after being accused of sympathizing with Hitler, went with like, but my masochist, white-skinned daddy mommy is so hot. Like, what the fuck? So, in 1930s, Dali was wildin'. His views on fascism began to generate serious controversies. Firstly, in 1935, he was almost kicked out of the Surrealist movement, but defended himself by the Hitler hot thing. Then, next year, in 1935, sent a letter to Breton describing racist religion that he invented because Jesus can't do shit in terms of creating a religion. And it was supposed to be anti-Christian, masochist religion run by Surrealist priests that advocated for brutal hierarchy where whites unite fanatically to bring the domination or submission to slavery of all colored races. And why the fuck Spaniards are so racist? Like, dude, you ain't even that white. And when the Spanish Civil War began, Dali started supporting fascist forces in Spain. And in 1931, he was expelled from commie surrealist group for racism and not liking the AI thing I've mentioned earlier. But when Franco took power, and let's play a little game, Dali cucked Franco so much that FBI investigated / searched him for suspicion of fascism. B had to flee Spain after the regime because he was afraid of being publicly lynched. C, he painted Franco's granddaughter on horsey. D, all of the above. It's D, all of them. If you guessed correctly, congratulations, you can subscribe to the channel. If you didn't guess, then you have to like the video and then subscribe to the channel. But we ain't done yet, because in 1948, amidst supporting Franco, he announced his return to the Catholic faith. And of course he did. He even met with the Nazi Pope, Pius XII, in 1949. And this round-ass motherfucker, John 23rd, in 1959. So Dali was a fascist. What? Not fascist enough? Okay, what about 1938, when he visited Lord Bernet in Rome and went to meet with Mussolini himself, which pissed his commie friends at the Surrealist group so much they expelled him, and for the shit mentioned before. But we all know what happened in 1939. So what our little fascist did when it started? Of course, run away to the USA like a little bitch. And that's also when FBI investigated on him. But during the 1940s, he claimed to be apolitical again, focusing his energy on work. And one of these work was a novel, Hidden Faces, about some eccentric aristocrat bullshit, because he was fetishizing bourgeoisie as well as dictators for some fucking reason. And Dali's art at that time was full of mystical and religious themes, like the Madonna of Portligat, or bunch of crosses and Jesuses. And that's painting Dali at age of 6, when he thought he was a little girl, lifting the skin of the water to see dog sleeping under the shade of sea. Oh, that one, like, actually, what the fuck? So 1950s was also a time when he was a bit isolated by other artists, he himself tried to get some attention from Pablo Picasso, which Dali admired, but Picasso never responded. And he did not give a single fuck about him. I mean, besides siding with the bad people, he was also literally a cock. And it's well documented that he liked to masturbate while watching other people fuck, which Dali admitted plenty of times publicly. Because why the fuck not, I guess? After all, how are you gonna find all those young guys to fuck your wife for like half a century, right? And apparently he had like masochistic kinks as well, judging by the Hitler thing. Some say it was just for shock value, admitted to necrophilia. But with that one, you never know. He might have actually been into this shit. But the cock thing though, 100% real. And he liked it graphic. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to blur these. But hey, this ain't horny video. It's political. So let's move to
The glob glow gab galab.
plenty of official meetings with Franco in 1956, 1968, and 1974, one of which he gave this painting, Franco's granddaughter on a horse. But in 1968, Dali stated that after Franco's death, Spain should become an absolute monarchy. That's not all though. In 1975, he supported execution of some separatists, stating that, personally, I'm against freedom. I'm for the Holy Inquisition. After which he had to flee his hometown of
Figueras.
to New York. And he did that multiple times. Talk shit, shit goes down, go back to States. Shit cools down, go back to Spain or France. Sometimes he spent weeks in his wife's castle that he bought for her, and he could not go there without written permission. Like, buying a castle, that's another level of cockery, dude. He bought this castle in 1968, south of
Figueras.
in Pubol. In 1981, at 77 years of age, he said, I have always been an anarchist and monarchist. No, you are fucking crazy. But a year later, 1982, his wife died. He moved to the castle and she was put into a tomb. So, well, maybe he was necro after all. But at age of 80, in 1984, 2 years after Gail passing away, Dali was depressed, refused food, and had suicidal thoughts. And for the worst, he was hospitalized after a fire that broke down in his bedroom. After hospital, he moved to
Figueras.
to annex the Dali Theater Museum, in which, after cardiac arrest on January 23rd, 1989, was buried in the crypt below the stage. Anyhow, if you want to get political, then comment section is yours. Just don't be like Dali. If you like that video, you might like that on this specific topic I've made about the whole art group of these fucks, which you can check here. Alright, people that say hello like this should be Luigi Mangione right fucking now.